As I've been trying to get back to trucking history videos, there's a lot of weird trucking history that I haven't done yet. I've done a lot of companies and decades and things like that, but there's a lot that I haven't talked about. And I think I want to look into some of these other things. And recently a story came up on CDL Life about the Turnpike Phantom. So this may have sounded like a ghostly story or a paranormal story, but it's not. This was actually a serial killer. I don't know how many people he had to kill to be a serial killer, but this is still something very scary for truck drivers. And I'm actually going to read the CDL Life story that was written on, this was actually written by Sierra Alley on April 15th of 2021. But it just recently came up in some searches I was doing about trucking history, and really caught my eye because it happened in Pennsylvania, and I didn't know about it. Now, I was not alive yet. In fact, my dad was not alive yet. So this is a really old story, but it's, you hear tales of things that happened in the past, and this is not one that I ever heard. So I'll read the story, then I'll tell you how we're probably going to find out more about this. But nearly 70 years ago, a series of crimes targeting sleeping drivers in the cabs of their rigs spread nationwide panic for truck drivers and travelers alike. It says nearly 70 years ago. Like I said, this is 2021, so this story is actually 72 years old now. Actually, this month, it will be 72 years old. After 3 shootings took place near the Pennsylvania Turnpike during the summer of 1953, the country coined the killer the Turnpike Phantom and feared he was likely to commit more murders. On July 26, 1953, the body of truck driver Lester Woodward, 30, was found lying on the front of his rig along the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Woodward had been shot in the head with a .32 caliber bullet and robbed. A 6-car pileup in which several people died occurred around the same time, and it seemed likely that the gunman had caused the accident as he fled the scene. At first, police believed the robbery to be the motive for the killing. However, 2 days later, on July 28, 1953, another murder occurred. Harry Pitts, 39, had pulled off the turnpike in a similar way as Woodward. The next morning, a friend of Pitts recognized his rig and pulled over to find Pitts' dead body. He had been shot through the mouth and killed at the same caliber and gun as Woodward. Now, something to say here, so his friend saw him and pulled over. I did a little bit of studying up on CB radios, and they did exist at the time, but mostly only in the military. It seems that it wasn't until about 1958 that people started buying them for their own personal use or, truck drivers' use. And I can only imagine that time frame and everything. But yeah, anyway, on July 31st, 1953, John Shepard was robbed in his truck on Route 30 east of Lisbon, Ohio, and shot in the jaw. Shepard survived his injuries and was able to describe his attacker as having a high-pitched male voice. After the third shooting, truck drivers began moving in convoys and parked together at well-lit truck stops. Drivers kept weapons close at hand, arming themselves with guns and baseball bats. Again, so now they're running in convoys, but they don't have the CBs. I guess word's not getting around as fast. With a pattern identified, detectives began the manhunt for the Turnpike Phantom. The state police increased their patrol of the roads and warned motorists sleeping on the shoulder of the interstate. In a vintage life picture by Ralph Morse, a Pennsylvania state trooper, warns a driver attempting to nap on the Pennsylvania Turnpike shoulder of the presence of a serial killer targeting sleeping drivers. On August 6th, 25-year-old John Wesley Wable was brought into county jail for failing to return a car he had rented on July 18th. Wabel bragged about being the Turnpike Phantom to his jailers, but police dismissed his confession as lies. He was released on September 23rd. On October 9th, Wabel was apprehended by police in New Mexico after being connected to the shootings when he pawned the watch he had stolen from Shepard. Wabel was found driving a stolen car with 2 other men, and all 3 had recently been involved in a gas station robbery. Wabel attempted to flee on foot, but was caught trying to hitchhike along a Santa Fe railroad track. After being arrested, Wabel tried to blame the murders on his friend Jim Parks, who he claimed borrowed the gun used in the murders. Wabel was convicted in Westmoreland County Courts of first-degree murder, March 13th, 1954. Westmoreland County is, I had to look it up, I wasn't sure. I'm from Lancaster County, the other side of the state. So this was actually pretty much the intersection of 70 and 76 there at New Stanton. Not Bedford, but over there near New Stanton. So, like, New Stanton is in Westmoreland County, and that's, it doesn't get up into Pittsburgh, which I believe is Allegheny County, but, so it's that whole area down there, Greensburg, if you're familiar with Pennsylvania. On the afternoon of September 26, 1955, he was transported to Rockview Penitentiary near Bellefonte, which is up on 80, a little bit north of State College area, where later that evening he was executed by electric chair. Boy, isn't that swift justice that we don't see nowadays? So a lot of people died, but I'm going to tell you how to learn more and a future story I might do about this. So guys, you know, this is kind of a creepy story, and I don't know how well this camera's picking up. There's actually like rolling thunder behind me. I swear to you, that's real thunder. I did not add it to the video. If you can hear it, I don't know if it's going to come up in there. Anyway, there was a book written about this. Actually, it was released in 2022, September 26, 2022, and it's written by Richard Gazarek. And I think I want to get it because I definitely don't have the whole story, because the print length of this book is 128 pages long. And I'll read the summary real quick. Discover the bloody story of John Wesley Wabel's 1950s killing spree that rocked western Pennsylvania and left truckers and drivers alike frightened of the Turnpike. After a series of murdered truck drivers, a high-speed interstate chase, Wabel's gruesome criminal story also involves a thrilling court case and unresolved mysteries to this day. So I think I'm going to have to buy this. It's $23.99 on Amazon. I actually will put a link to it down below if you want to buy it. But pretty interesting story. I think I'm going to buy it. This might lead up to a much longer story later. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this history of trucking video. I'm sorry, remember I told you we got storms going on. There's flash floods too, so let me turn that off. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this history video. I'm going to keep doing history videos. I've gotten away from it a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, there's so much more history to this great industry that we have. And but thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. You can comment below. I'd love to hear from somebody who was alive when this was happening and knows about it. You know, it was 72 years ago, so there's got to be a lot of guys out there that might remember this story happening. So anyway, guys, comment. Love to hear from you. If you don't want to comment on here, you can email me at finchresources@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack, all under the Trucking Resources name. And I do something a little bit different on all of them. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.